thing on the outside here is called a loop. This is like a very simple coding explanation, but basically it'll continuously do something that's this thing that's inside of it until it's proven false. So there's different things you can set the loop to. You can see there's a lot of different ones. A lot of the time for like beginner line followers, they'll have it on unlimited. So that means that it'll always do it. It'll never stop. But because we have a 90-degree angle, you can see like the crossroads right here. The line follower cannot do 90-degree turns. So that's why you're going to have to stop it and manually make the bot turn. So that's why I set it to motor rotations, and then I use degrees because degrees will work best with a physical robot. So it's good to get used to degrees. If you want, you can do rotations. That'll be a lot simpler, but I use degrees. And then you want to make sure that this like compare thing, set it to 3, greater than or equal to. And so what this will do is, right here, I have color sensor 1. So if you look at the ports, you have, actually in this competition, we have 3 different sensors. I use only the first 2 because I think that's best. But what it'll do is, if you look on your robot, you should see right like under this square right here, when you turn on the line sensor, you'll see a red dot under it. That red dot is an infrared sensor shooting down at the ground, and different colors will reflect different light intensities back. If it's on black, it'll reflect close to 0. If it's on white, it should reflect all. The thing is that the line isn't perfect, so you can see that like there's a little bit of fuzz on the sides. So it's pretty rare that you will get 100, like you'll get pure white, just to keep in mind that. But it takes basically the first, whatever the first line follower is sensing, and plugs it into this math equation. If you know algebra, this math equation won't be too complex. Basically, it is subtracting the 2 values. So this value goes into value A, and this goes into value B. And it'll subtract that, and whatever it gets is how far away it is from being perfectly on the line. And then this times right here, this multiplication, you don't really need to use it. It's not going to really affect your score if you don't use it, but it'll make it a bit smoother. Like if you're doing long turns, it'll like your bot will wobble back and forth if you don't have this. And so this is just timesing it by 0.5. And then whatever it gets, it'll plug into the move steering. And that is how much it will turn. If say it equals 20, this will go to 20 and the bot will turn 20. And then this is just the power, the speed. And right here, this is like the more complex part of the loop. It's basically going to take how many rotations your wheels have done. And once it becomes either greater or equal to that number, it'll cut the loop. It'll stop the loop. The loop is now false. So this is the way that, say, on the thing, you would go here, and you could maybe turn your bot at the 90-degree angle. But right now, if I have 90, that's like not even a single tire turn. That's like a quarter of a tire turn. So like if I run this, it'll like, it goes and it just like stops. That's how far it went with 90 degrees. So I found, so really with this, you should just like plug in numbers. It's useful to have a calculator out and just see how many rotations you're doing. 360 is 1 tire rotation. You should probably know that. And then you can just like times that by whatever number. I found that 4 tire rotations works well. So if I go to say here and grab a Desmos, I can go 360 times 2. So 720 would be 2 tire rotations. I found 4 tire rotations works well. 4 would be 144. 1,000. No, that's not right. I always have a tough time saying long numbers. Well, at 1,440. And now if I run this, it'll, so I have to restart the thing. I'll run this, and the bot went forward. It went a bit over here, so if you were going, you could maybe have a little bit less. Once again, just like tweak the code, slowly do a little bit more, a little bit less, maybe do like 20 more, 20 less, trying to get it perfect. I'll just keep it at this, and then I like to use the move tank for steering. Some people like to use this one. This one is sometimes a little bit faster. I just prefer this one because it turns on an axis instead of like doing a wide turn like a car does. And so for this, in order to make a move tank code turn, I could put, say, I have 50 on one tire and I could put negative 50 on the other. And now if I'll just delete this in here. I'll restart my thing. Go. Now it will move, and it turned. You see, it turned way too much for me. And I don't want it to turn that much. I need much less. So right now, it's on rotations. Once again, you can set it to degrees if you would like. Sometimes rotations is a little bit easier to work with. I found that to like 50.5 it might work. I don't know. I'm just like tweaking the code a little bit. And you'll see it went okay. And it stopped right here. So what I'm noticing right now is that it doesn't seem like it's going far enough on the line, and it's going a little bit less. That's why when it's turning right there. So I'm going to decrease this a little bit. Let me just try 1,400. Okay, run. Okay, so that still didn't work very well. Let me try 5. Okay, so this, I could work with this if I wanted. If I wanted, I could put it to go, and it'll both have 100 on both sides because it's like both hitting the white. So then it would subtract that, times it by 0.5, and it would basically be 0. It would equal 0, so it would just go forward until it hit the black line, and then it would turn. Now, if I'm just going to put what I found works because I completed the course already. So I found that 1,600 and then 1.7 works. And I believe I had this at 0. And now if I reset it, let me see. Go. Okay, so you can notice that this isn't a perfect turn, but it doesn't need to be a perfect turn as long as one of the sensors is on the thing. So now, if you want, you can manually go and rebuild the loop. I just go Control-C, Control-V. Here we go. And then I like to pull it under, saves room, and then you grab that side, and you can plug it in like this. And now this will work. But right now, both of my tires are 1,610 degrees. This one's a little bit more because we did a turn. So right now, if I just have it at this, it's just going to do nothing because this is already proven false. So I have to, if I wanted it to go another 1,600, I would have to do the port B because that's the smaller one, plus the amount forward I want it to go. I found that 4,400 works well. I'll just double check that by running the code. Yeah, I was sort of guessing. I was sort of adding. I was kind of doing a mix of both. I went 5,000 more because the thing is if I add, you can see that this line right here is so much longer than the line right there. So 1600 would get you like right to like maybe here tops. And so that's why yeah, yep. And that's why like and that's why sometimes like when you're going, right, you complete the code, you push those two blocks, and then when you're going here, you can sometimes make the mistake of thinking, "Oh, I'll just put 44 because that's what I did for here." But then it's like, no, you have to add 44 to whatever you already have down. So right now, because I did 44, you can see that both of the tire rotations are around 44, a little bit more than that. And because of that, this was proven false. And once again, the code stopped. And now, yep, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, you're allowed to do that. Just say move it like this, like this. I'm not sure. So I know a little bit more coding. I actually do know some Python. I've coded some games before, so I know this stuff a little bit more. I also oh, this stuff, this is just like right you can see I have this selected right here. That's just the move thing. Yeah, X, Y, and Z axis. So you could like drag this if you wanted to lift the bot up the sides to the left. The one thing is you couldn't just like drag the bot and complete the code and then like, oh, I completed the code, submit it. No, that's against the rules. You're not allowed to do that. Could you pull it for measurements? I'm not sure. I've never tried that before. I honestly just it doesn't work. Just try a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what happened. And that's what I prefer to do. Yep. It should move it. I don't know. My thing might be lagging a little bit. That or it's because we're in a competition that it won't allow me to move it. So I'm not sure. I've never tested really that before. But yeah, I think the tweaking is a bit better because when you're gonna get to like actually in the finals, you're not gonna be other people waiting to use the same mat. And so you're not gonna be able to take like 20 minutes being like, okay, let me take my measuring tape and measure the distance right here and be like, oh, it's 20 inches. And see ya. Yeah. Yep. You could do that. Yeah. Yep. Yep. 1440. Yep. It was short. Yep. 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 And so, right, I have this code here. I don't want to give away like the entire competition, of course, because like that'd be kind of boring. So once you get to here, once you get to here, it's basically pretty simple. What I did is instead of using the line follower at this point, I just used all just normal move codes because there's like a crossroad here and a crossroad there and a crossroad there. So that might screw up the sensors a little bit. So what I just did is I just did a turn. I moved forward, pushed that block, and then I just went backwards the entire way, hit that block, And then once I was on this line again, I did line follower till the end and parked my robot. And so yeah,